Tiffany Henyard actually has two political jobs on two public payrolls. As mayor of South Suburban Dalton, or as she calls herself, Super Mayor.
Don and Scott, the meeting wrapped up early because two trustees, as you mentioned, did not show up. Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle. Without them, not enough board members were present to make official decisions.
Few political figures have faced as much controversy as Tiffany Henyard, the embattled mayor of Dalton, Illinois. From allegations of corruption to eviction scandals, her tenure has become a lightning rod for chaos in the small village she governs. Now, the drama has taken a dramatic turn. The FBI has stepped in, leveling corruption accusations of a scale that has left residents stunned. And this is just the latest chapter in her mounting troubles.
Turn up more and more information. They'll turn up more leads. They may turn up more witnesses. They may find a cooperator. They may find an informant, all which will benefit the investigation tremendously.
But based on what we know now, if you're Tiffany Henyard, how are you feeling?
I would be nervous.
Let's start with the most shocking revelation. Tiffany Henyard, often dubbed the Super Mayor, is now at the center of allegations accusing her of embezzling millions in public funds. The FBI's investigation has uncovered what they describe as a deliberate scheme to divert taxpayer money into personal accounts and unauthorized expenditures. Sources close to the case claim the amount in question is nearly $2 million, a staggering figure for a small village already grappling with severe financial woes. Residents, long weary of questionable leadership, were blindsided by the magnitude of the alleged theft. One anonymous official described the situation as a massive breach of public trust, bluntly adding, "This isn't just mismanagement, it's outright theft." These allegations come as Dalton's financial health has deteriorated rapidly. A financial report earlier this year revealed that the village's general fund plummeted from a surplus of over $5 million in 2022 to a deficit nearing $4 million by mid-2024. Critics had already accused Henyard of reckless spending, but the new claims that she siphoned public funds for personal gain have transformed frustration into fury. During a heated public meeting, one resident voiced the community's anger, saying, "She's supposed to be fixing the streets, not lining her pockets." Meanwhile, calls for Henyard's resignation have intensified, with residents demanding accountability and the end of what many are now calling the Henyard era of corruption.
Very appreciative to receive the information today. We have the best mayor ever. I've been here since 1993. And she's the best we ever had.
You know, you're doing a lot of programs, good programs for the, the senior citizens, and you're doing a lot of programs for, people who are on a fixed budget. But what about the people, the blue-collar people who are still carrying this, this town?
The timing of these revelations couldn't be worse for Tiffany Henyard. They come just as she made the audacious announcement that she intends to seek re-election. Yes, despite being embroiled in multiple scandals, Henyard has declared her bid for another term as mayor. Instead of rallying support, however, the announcement has only further inflamed her critics. "She has the nerve to ask for our votes while stealing from us," said one Dalton resident during a heated town hall meeting. Many have described her decision as tone-deaf at best, with others calling it outright delusional. Adding to the absurdity is the irony of Henyard's own financial troubles. Despite earning a six-figure salary from her dual roles as Dalton's mayor and Thorndon Township supervisor, she is currently facing an eviction lawsuit from her landlord. According to court documents, Henyard and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, stopped paying rent on their Dalton home in August. Their landlord, Janetta Hull, claims they now owe thousands in back rent and late fees. Hull has called the situation a nightmare, revealing that Henyard and Woods not only failed to pay, but also changed the locks on the property to keep her out. "I have nowhere else to turn," Hull said in a recent interview, adding that she fears losing the property to foreclosure due to the unpaid rent.
It looks like a misspending of tax funds. I think that's the biggest concern.
The timing of these revelations couldn't be worse for Tiffany Henyard. Just as she faces mounting scandals, Henyard has announced her bid for re-election as mayor. Far from inspiring support, the move has only fueled outrage among her critics. "She has the nerve to ask for our votes while stealing from us," a frustrated Dalton resident exclaimed during a fiery town hall meeting. Many have slammed her decision as tone-deaf, with some going as far as to call it outright delusional. Adding to the controversy is the glaring irony of Henyard's personal financial woes. Despite earning a six-figure income from her dual roles as Dolton's mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, Henyard is currently battling an eviction lawsuit. According to court documents, she and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, stopped paying rent on their Dolton home in August. Their landlord, Janetta Hull, claims the couple owes thousands in back rent and late fees. Hull has described the ordeal as a nightmare, alleging that Henyard and Woods not only failed to pay, but also changed the locks to prevent her from accessing the property. "I have nowhere else to turn," Hull shared in a recent interview, adding that she fears losing the property to foreclosure due to the unpaid rent.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
But it's not just the financial scandals that have people talking. Tiffany Henyard's behavior at public meetings has also drawn widespread criticism. Over the past year, her clashes with Dolton trustees have become infamous, with meetings frequently descending into shouting matches and walkouts. One particularly outrageous incident occurred when Henyard called the police on workers tasked with removing banners featuring her face and the self-styled title of Super Mayor. The banners, which had been installed without board approval, became a point of contention after the vendor who created them claimed nearly $20,000 in unpaid bills. When trustees ordered the banners removed, Henyard reportedly accused the workers of theft, demanding that police arrest them. Video footage captured her arguing with officers, declaring, "Press charges on them if you have to. Nobody messes with my property." The turmoil didn't end there. Henyard further sparked outrage by appointing a new police chief, Ronald Burge, without board approval. The appointment quickly unraveled when it was revealed that Burge was inactive according to state law enforcement records, making him legally unqualified to serve as chief. Despite a formal letter from the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board urging Henyard to remove Burge, she refused. Instead, she doubled down, accusing trustees of undermining her authority and further escalating tensions within the village government.
Yep, right. And Mike, Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wanted the Board of Trustees to approve some events that she wants the township to pay for, but none of the trustees showed up for this special meeting tonight. That left the meeting canceled and Henyard with the floor.
These power struggles have left Dolton in a state of near paralysis. Meetings are frequently canceled due to lack of quorum, and critical decisions are delayed amid ongoing legal disputes. Frustrated residents are increasingly vocal about the gridlock. "Nothing gets done because it's all about her," one resident lamented at a recent town hall. "We're paying for her ego while our streets crumble and our schools suffer." As if the situation weren't chaotic enough, Henyard has also faced accusations of using intimidation tactics to silence her critics. In a now infamous 90-minute Facebook Live rant, she threatened to have her political opponents arrested, accusing them of orchestrating a smear campaign against her. "I will be seeking arrests for individuals involved," she declared during the broadcast. "I will be pressing charges. It's a lot, and that's just me telling you a little bit." The video quickly went viral, drawing widespread criticism and serving as yet another example of Henyard's increasingly erratic behavior. "She's lost touch with reality," one resident remarked. "Who threatens to arrest people for disagreeing with them? This isn't a dictatorship."
Yeah, we've been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges.
The FBI's ongoing investigation into Tiffany Henyard's administration has only heightened tensions. Federal agents have reportedly subpoenaed financial records from both Dolton and Thornton Township, as well as documents related to Henyard's personal spending. While no charges have been filed yet, sources close to the investigation suggest it's only a matter of time. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard remains defiant. In a recent statement, she dismissed the allegations against her as politically motivated and vowed to fight back. "I have done nothing wrong," she claimed. This is all part of a smear campaign by my opponents who are jealous of my success. Henyard even compared herself to former U.S. President Donald Trump, asserting that she would win re-election despite the controversies. Just like Trump, I'm coming in strong, she declared at a public meeting. The people know the truth, and they will stand by me.
That's right, Don and Terrence. Tonight's meeting had a much different tone than what we've experienced previously at Dalton City Council meetings. Now, the room was full of Henyard supporters, and they wanted me to be sure to tell you that they applauded for her several times as she talked about the township being in a great place financially. Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
But will they? For many in Dalton, the answer is a resounding no. Residents are exhausted by what they see as a never-ending circus, and calls for Tiffany Henyard's resignation grow louder by the day. As the drama continues to unfold, one thing is certain: Henyard isn't stepping down without a fight. Whether it's the eviction lawsuit, the FBI investigation, or the mounting backlash from her own community, Henyard remains determined to cling to power at all costs. However, with scandal after scandal piling up, even her most loyal supporters are beginning to question how much longer she can hold on. With the next election just months away, the people of Dalton will soon have their say. Will Henyard's bold predictions of a re-election landslide come true, or will her controversies finally bring her down? Only time will tell.
If the board do not show up, we are not able to pay bills. We are not able to handle the business.
Tiffany Henyard's rise to power was not merely political. It was calculated and strategic, built, some would argue, on a foundation of manipulation cloaked in charm. Behind the polished campaign slogans and promises of progress lies a more complex narrative, a story of relentless ambition and a willingness to use every tool at her disposal to climb the ladder of power. For those who have followed her career closely, Henyard's current legal and political troubles come as little surprise. To them, they represent the inevitable outcome of years of unchecked ambition and a leadership style that prioritized personal gain over the public good.
Disturbing to hear these things or to kind of see some of the receipts that appear to be connected to it. And I think the taxpayers really deserve better than that.
Tiffany Henyard's journey into politics began with bold promises and a carefully curated image as a champion of the underdog. She presented herself as a fresh face in leadership, someone who could revitalize Dalton and Thornton Township with youthful energy and modern ideas. But as critics would later argue, her rise to power seemed less about serving the community and more about consolidating control. From the start, Henyard's focus was clear: control. She wasted no time in securing it. One of her earliest and most controversial strategies was her approach to appointments. Recognizing that loyalists in key positions could bolster her authority, she systematically replaced those who might challenge her with individuals who would not only support her decisions, but also shield her from scrutiny. This wasn't just about filling vacancies. It was about constructing a fortress around her leadership. Trustees, department heads, and even law enforcement officials were carefully chosen for their allegiance, not to the public they were meant to serve, but to Henyard herself. This calculated strategy helped her tighten her grip on local government while insulating her from accountability.
Gardner says he's been harassed and his business raided and shut down by Dalton police. He believes because he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
And I talked to a couple of agents and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork.
Nowhere was Tiffany Henyard's quest for control more evident than in her relationship with the Dalton Police Department. Early in her tenure, Henyard made it clear that she intended to take full command of law enforcement in the village, a move that would later become one of the most criticized aspects of her administration. She appointed a series of police chiefs, each more controversial than the last. Her most recent decision to install Ronald Burge as chief sparked outrage, not just because of his questionable qualifications, but because it epitomized her tendency to bypass established procedures to push through her own agenda. Burge, whose law enforcement certification had lapsed, was handpicked by Henyard despite objections from both trustees and state officials. Critics argued that his appointment had little to do with his ability to lead and more to do with his unquestioning loyalty to Henyard. This pattern of prioritizing loyalty over competence extended beyond the police department. Henyard's former assistant, Carmen Carlisle, who initially worked closely with the mayor, eventually became one of her most vocal critics. Carlisle described her time working under Henyard as chaotic, alleging that the mayor often demanded unwavering loyalty from her staff, even when it meant crossing ethical boundaries. It wasn't about what was best for the residents, Carlisle said in an interview. It was about what was best for her. If you didn't fall in line, you were out.
I'll show up to your scheduled board meetings. I don't care if you agree or disagree, but you must show up to say yes or no, or vote present, but show up.
Henyard's need for control and loyalty inevitably led to clashes with the Dolton Board of Trustees. The trustees, tasked with providing oversight and ensuring the mayor's decisions align with the community's best interests, found themselves increasingly at odds with Henyard. Meetings often degenerated into shouting matches, with Henyard accusing the trustees of obstructing her vision for the village, while the trustees accused her of overstepping her authority. Tensions reached a breaking point earlier this year when Henyard filed a lawsuit against several trustees, claiming they were illegally holding meetings without her presence. In response, the trustees accused Henyard of trying to undermine their work and prevent them from holding her accountable. One of the most dramatic moments in this ongoing feud occurred during a public meeting, where Henyard arrived late and stormed out after being cheered by residents. The meeting moved to a larger venue after the Illinois Attorney General ruled that the village's usual meeting space violated open meetings laws, was packed with residents eager to voice their frustrations. As Henyard attempted to regain control of the room, she was met with boos and shouts from the audience. "This is an embarrassment to Dolton," one resident shouted. "Why won't you step down?" Visibly frustrated, Henyard accused the trustees of orchestrating the chaos and vowed to continue fighting for her position.
The supervisor, Tiffany Henyard.
Were there any questions that you have at all?
No, right now I'm going to give her a chance.
And this meeting comes one day after Fox 32's Dane Placco exposed what some are calling misappropriation of funds after traveling to Washington, D.C. in January for a U.S. conference of mayors, according to credit card records obtained.
Even as Tiffany Henyard fights to maintain her grip on power, the cracks in her administration are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The financial scandals alone have left many questioning her ability to govern. Beyond the allegations of embezzlement, there are numerous instances of reckless spending that seem to prioritize Henyard's personal image over the needs of the community. One particularly egregious example is the £33,000 she spent on Amazon purchases using the village's credit card. While some items were reportedly for village events, the lack of transparency and accountability has raised significant concerns. Trustees have repeatedly called for an independent audit of the village's finances, but Henyard has resisted these efforts, further fueling suspicions of wrongdoing. Then there's the matter of her re-election campaign, which has been widely criticized as tone-deaf given the current state of the village. Henyard's decision to run for another term has baffled even some of her former supporters, who argue that her focus should be on addressing the mounting issues in Dolton rather than campaigning for re-election. Her campaign slogan, "Fighting for the People," has been met with skepticism, with many residents questioning who, exactly, she's fighting for.
And we've learned the FBI has been using electronic surveillance as part of its investigation. Agents are asking questions about Henyard's alleged use of taxpayer dollars and resources, including massive spending on out-of-town trips.
Henyard's opponents have wasted no time capitalizing on her scandals. Trustee Jason House, who is running against her in the upcoming election, has positioned himself as the anti-Henyard candidate, promising to restore transparency and accountability to village government. A vocal critic of Henyard's leadership, House has gained significant support from residents who are fed up with the current administration. "We need real leadership," House said during a campaign event. "Not someone who uses their position to enrich themselves and silence their critics. Dalton deserves better." But Henyard's critics aren't limited to the political arena. Even her landlord, Janetta Hull, has joined the chorus of voices calling for accountability. Hull, who once considered Henyard a friend, has become one of her most outspoken detractors since filing an eviction lawsuit against the mayor. In a recent interview, Hull expressed her frustration with Henyard's refusal to pay rent and her apparent disregard for the financial strain it has caused.
All I can tell you that I'm not the one on anything. That's all that I can tell you right now. So I'm just trying to answer to the.
So you're saying everything, there's a foundation that's not registered, but it has nothing to do with you?
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
That's
so
true.
you're not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised, anything along those lines?
Correct.
As the scandals continue to mount, Henyard's once ironclad grip on power appears to be slipping. Her allies are dwindling, her opponents are gaining momentum, and the investigations into her administration show no signs of slowing down. Yet despite all of this, Henyard remains defiant. In a recent Facebook post, she dismissed the allegations against her as fake news and accused her critics of being driven by jealousy and a desire to see her fail. "They can try to tear me down," she wrote, "but I'm not going anywhere. The people of Dalton need me." It's a bold statement, but one that rings hollow for many residents who feel abandoned by their leader. For them, the question isn't whether Henyard will step down, but when. As the FBI investigation and the eviction lawsuit continue to unfold, the walls are closing in on this self-proclaimed super mayor. Whether she's removed from office, voted out, or forced to resign, one thing is clear. Tiffany Henyard's time at the top is running out. Perhaps the most frustrating aspect of this entire saga is the deep sense of betrayal felt by the residents of Dalton. Many of them voted for Henyard because they believed in her vision for the village. They saw her as a fresh start, someone who could bring real change to a community that desperately needed it. Instead, they faced years of dysfunction, scandal, and broken promises. As one resident put it, "We trusted her and she let us down. Now we're the ones paying the price." Yet despite everything, Henyard still has her supporters. Those who believe she's being unfairly targeted and that her critics are simply trying to undermine her success. Whether their loyalty is well-placed or misguided remains to be seen. As the election draws closer and the scandals continue to unfold, one thing is certain. The people of Dalton are watching, and they're ready to make their voices heard. Will they give Henyard another chance, or will they decide it's time for a new chapter? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this unfolding saga. The truth might just be stranger than fiction. Stay tuned.